I'm digging my guest. His name is Dr. Ross Hewitt. We should probably say, yeah, he's a doctor. You're a just retired physician. Is that correct? Give us the
Yes.
doc talk.
For people, not animals.
Right.
But yes, I grew up in New York City and ended up getting into NYU Medical School. I wanted to be a psychiatrist when I first started out. And then AIDS hit at that time. And I just felt compelled to become an AIDS specialist.
Good.
And that's what I did.
Well, you won some community awards, I understand, in Buffalo and New York City for your work, because what a horrible disease. But what did you learn being a physician that makes you a better person?
The most important skill you can have is to be a good listener. People need to talk. They need to ask questions. They need just to have their personhood acknowledged. And
that.
whether the circumstances are good or bad, it's so important. That's how we connect to each other as human beings. What AIDS taught me in particular is that our time on this world is not guaranteed, that our number could be called at any time, and that
Exactly.
we really owe it to ourselves and to our friends and family and to the world to make the most of the time that we have here. And so they inspire me every day to keep pushing to do new things and try new things and
I like that.
experience the world.
So you are a man of science, but you're also a man of the arts. So can you share with our zillion, I'm just making that number up, zillion of loyal listeners about your theatrical background?
Well, when I was 8 years old, I got to play Tiny Tim in a production.
Okay.
And
Good.
after that, I was hooked.
All right.
But I also was drawn to medicine. So my life's goal became to kind of explore theater as more of a hobby and a side gig and do the doctor work until I was in such a place where I could step away from medicine and devote myself to creative activities full time. But I've been in over 70 plays as an
Wow.
actor.
No, wait a minute. For this show, we have to say, me, wow.
And I was just in recently this year in a production of Choir Boy in Buffalo, New York at the Ujima Theater Company, where I played a professor interested in...
kind of, for those folks, he does look like a professor. Take my word for it. Yeah. Okay.
It would completely fit me for a group of young men at a prestigious boarding school. So that was a lot of fun. And I'm supposed to be in a comedy about love in an assisted living facility, Florida.
Oh, a lot of naughtiness going on there. Yeah.
So that should be a lot of fun. We go into rehearsal in November.
But in your 70 plays or so, you also have taken on Shakespeare plays. Doth that hard, Dr. Ross?
Oh, that was also one of those personal challenges I set for myself, because I feel that if you can't act Shakespeare, you're not an actor.
Okay.
That it's a standard. I certainly didn't have the training that Shakespearean actors in England have, because they're all famous movie stars now. But it's such a core to help both master the language and the emotion of the situation and marry them at the same time. It's quite a challenge to convince yourself that you're a character living 500 years ago, speaking in a language that is not completely familiar to you, and yet experiencing the same human emotions that we all experience. That's the challenge of Shakespeare. And I was able to participate in Shakespeare both in Buffalo and in New York City, and it's such a wonderful experience.
Well, here's my only Shakespeare line. You ready for it? Never was there a greater tale of woe than that of Juliet and Romeo. That's it.
Yes,
I take my curtain call. Okay.
very, very good. And in fact, I just saw a production of Romeo and Juliet 3 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful. An outdoor production. Wonderful.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go from the old bard. Nice play, Bill. Get it? Shakespeare. Sorry. Play, Bill. Bill. So let's go. You were on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Was that with Regis?
No, that was with Meredith.
Okay.
And when I was growing up, my Aunt Doey watched Jeopardy every day. And when she would babysit us, I would just watch it with her and I would be amazed because she knew every answer or every question.
Right.
And I was like, Aunt Doey, you should go on that show. Oh, no. I could never do that. I just couldn't do that. She was one of the smartest people I ever knew. And she was a housewife and raised 3 boys. So it became one of my little bucket list things to be on a game show.
Okay.
And Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is filmed in New York City. And so I went, you have to take a test to get on it. And then you have to have an interview. So I went on it and I passed the test and I wasn't selected as a contestant the first time. And I realized what they want is a hook. They wanted some story that makes you human. And I'm also a crocheter.
Oh, you keep me in stitches, Dr. Ross Hewitt. Come on. All right.
And so I heard about a program that helps women in Africa become independent businessmen by giving them knitting machines and teaching them to knit. And they can do things like knit school sweaters for an entire school. And that's how they make money. And so when I went back a second time to audition, that was what I said I was going to support. And when I got on air, I told that story and I lived up to my word and I donated 10% of my winnings to support women in Africa.
Congratulations and thank you. And how far up the chain did you get?
I got to 8 questions and I walked away with $27,500.
Not a bad day.
Of course, Uncle Sam got his cut.
All right. Well, we want to wrap up the show diving more into Chris the Cat. Tell us how people can see it and a little bit maybe about how you did channel your inner cat to produce and create this story of this Icelandic pampered cat who gets out in the real world. But things are good and bad, right?
Yes. And he's challenged and he ends up spending a little bit of time alone and he gets sad. And that happens to all of us, especially children. So I wanted to depict that and that there's always someone who you don't anticipate who's around to help you and to become your friend. And that's what happens to Chris. He's befriended by a little girl. And
that Helga?
No, the little girl's name is, we don't know. She's just called the little girl.
Oh, snap. Okay. All right.
Helga is the queen's head of household who comes to get Chris and bring him back to the castle.
All right.
They need him. He's got a job to do.
So you've gotten this film shown at different places, right? Is this what you're doing now this fall?
Yes. So I've been able to submit the film to a number of film festivals, and it was just accepted to a film festival in Melbourne, Australia. It's going to be shown at one of the biggest film festivals in August in San Diego. And it's even won a little award. It was given an award for outstanding achievement for children's shorts. So very, very happy about that. And
You don't need an Oscar. You got that, right?
when anyone just appreciates the work that you do, it's very, very gratifying. And so I'm just grateful for the support that I've gotten and for the kids who have gotten to see the film in a movie theater. Well, all the time I was working on it, it was just my computer screen. But to see it up on a big screen, which I've done now a few times, it's wonderful.
I like that. I used to live in San Diego County, Oceanside. So there were times that some of the movie theaters would have things like short films, and a bunch of us would try to run and get them. What do you think about short films versus these mega blockbusters? Why do we need both?
Well, we certainly live in an attention deficit world. So,
That's true.
so a nice, good, short story, engaging in a video format is going to be really a great thing for kids and adults. And it's a nice little break for us to enjoy it as well. But it's often a training ground for filmmakers. Very few people get to make a full-length film their first time going into filmmaking. So short film is a way to also kind of hone your craft and explore what your talents as a storyteller.
I like that. Now, we can't have you leave the show without letting the cat out of the bag, so to speak. You said before we signed on, I know you grew up with 13 cats, but not because you don't like them. You don't have a personal cat now. Why?
I am so allergic to them now that my skin will just start to crawl
Aw.
if I'm just near them for any length of time, even with taking allergy shots for 5
Wow.
years. So I just ended up becoming very, very allergic. So Chris the cat is my new pet.
He's achoo free, right?
Yes. And I'm thrilled with the animation and the characterization of him. The artwork is fantastic. People can go to christhecat.net. There they can find viewing links to viewing options. The trailer is there. All of our film festival participation is there, and getting the word out about the film is there as well. So I think big things are in store for Chris. We're looking at a children's book based on the film. And perhaps maybe Chris is going to have other episodes as well, other adventures.
So that means we're going to get the other 9 lives of Chris the cat, right?
Oh, it's going to be wonderful.